Hello everyone, my name is Michael Trujillo. I am the proprietor, sole owner, and winemaker of Trujillo Wines. Now, Trujillo Wines is relatively a new brand that I launched in 2011. However, it comes to you with 40 years of winemaking experience under my belt. Now, throughout my career, the 40 years, I've been involved in ownership. I've been winemaker, I've been assistant winemaker, I've been consulting winemaker for a number of projects. One that may be familiar that I used to make back in the 90s was Carl Lawrence. Carl is my middle name, Lawrence was my founding partner at the time, and that was a brand that went to the moon. Very, very proud of that. I've been a consultant for brands such as Herb Lamb, Mandergol, Matera, but one of my bigger projects that I just stepped down from in 2018 was I was the president and head winemaker for Sequoia Grove, where, like I said, I stepped away in 2018. So Trujillo Wines is my last sort of fun, exciting venture for me. I've stepped away from the sort of the big world, you may say, and I'm just focusing in on what I absolutely love doing, and that's making wine. I love making Cabernet. However, I do play around with some white blends and rosés under a label called Madeline, and Madeline is named after my daughters, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Today, we're just going to focus in on the Trujillo brand. So excited to bring you this. All right, for the Trujillo brand, I definitely want to talk about the packaging, because the packaging is really, really important to me. Like I said, this is going to be sort of my last run of my career, and I really want to make it a good one. So I work with a designer, Madeline Corson, out of San Francisco, that I've worked with many projects. And when I came to her and told her that, hey, Trujillo Wines is going to be my King of the Hill project, we collaborated together. And what is behind this packaging for Trujillo Wine is my entire story that I've sort of already told you and what I'm going to be telling you. So I am Spanish by heritage. My ancestry goes back to the late 1500s, settling what is now Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I really wanted to bring a little bit of that Spanish heritage in. When you look at Spanish wines, you see that they have a fair amount of coverage of the bottle with the label, you may say. So I wanted that look, and for the first time ever, I'm going to be putting my own name on the bottle. Now, that was a little bit scary at the beginning, but today I'm very proud of it. So Trujillo is a pronounced name. It is of Spanish heritage. Then I took and I weaved in a whole bunch of my story into this label. So I want to point some of those key things out for you. So family crest, I just didn't want to have it just a cut and paste. I wanted to tell the story. So the ram represent my growing up in southern Colorado. The bear represents I now reside in California. In the middle, the crest itself is part of the Trujillo crest, my family crest. In the ribbon, there's a word in there that says fortaleza, which means fortitude and strength. I've been very honored to grow up as a farm kid. I had a great upbringing, and through my trials and tribulations of life, I've persevered, and I'm very proud of that. Down here at the bottom, I have a little blue flower. It represents the Colorado columbine. That is in tribute to my late wife, Karen. Unfortunately, I lost Karen at a very young age in the early part of my winemaking career, but she was very instrumental in me getting into the wine business and becoming a winemaker. So a tribute to Karen there. If you look at the label very closely, you can see that it has a wood grain texture to it. If I'm not busy making wine, I'm usually in my wood shop making sawdust. My hobby is woodworking. I'm a fine craftsman of wood, fine furniture. I love making stuff. Make a lot of, furniture is kind of my forte. And then looking up here in the top corner, you see some notches on the label. That's part of the design of the Spanish look, but I love to sit there and say, hey, those represent a decade of winemaking. So obviously I'm coming up on 40 years now. I will soon have a fourth notch in there, but those represent 1 decade of winemaking. So it's a great label. I love it. People, the customer, when I tell them the story, they really gravitate to that story, and it makes a mark. And so there's an importance to the packaging. So from here, let's talk about the wine. All right, you just heard me talking about the packaging. Now I really want to talk about what I really think is the bling. The bling for me has to be in the bottle. It has to be great wine. It has to speak. Packaging is one thing, fantastic, but the juice inside, for me, is key. Now, in my 40 years of making wine, I probably have made wine from every square mile of Napa Valley throughout my career and throughout my many, many projects. I really know where I want to go source my grapes. I love the combination of blending AVAs together. I think Rutherford, to me, is it's my favorite AVA. It's my favorite place that I like to make Cabernet from. But you know, Hell Mountain is fantastic. And then I have a vineyard here in St. Helena that is nice too. Now, my style of Cabernet is going to be a little bit what I call polished or seamless, more elegant. I'm not after that big power, high alcohol, high wood direction, and by no means am I after that sort of sweet, you know, heavy body Cabernet. I'm old world style, but I'm bringing to you that California sunshine. You know, Napa Valley is fantastic for growing grapes. So what is in my Trujillo Cabernet? My number one vineyard is a vineyard that I source from in Rutherford, Gary Morazzoli. I've had a relationship with Gary and the Morazzoli family for going on 30 years now. I love that vineyard. It's true Rutherford bench. You know, the attributes of that wine when it's finished is what you hear about Rutherford dust, that earthy cherry, bold. You know, it's definitely the foundation to the Trujillo Cabernet. Back in the days when I was making the Carl Lawrence, we established a vineyard up on Hell Mountain, and Hell Mountain is all about black, spicy fruit. But what's cool about this vineyard, the Henry Vineyard, is there's all 5 Bordeaux varietals growing there. So it's really nice to be able to have the tools in the handbag with Merlot, Franc, Petit Verdot, and Malbec. And my third vineyard is a vineyard that we call Healy. It's down here on the valley floor, just north of St. Helena. And that's actually right adjacent to the Spotswood Vineyard. That vineyard is going to bring us a little bit more of a silkier Cabernet. Cocoa, mocha is the way I like to describe it. You know, it has good cherry, but it has a chocolatey element. So when I bring Rutherford, Hell Mountain, and St. Helena together, that's what shapes my Cabernet Sauvignon under the Trujillo label. So now I want to talk a little bit about the wine itself. As I mentioned earlier, my style, I want my wines to be just rich, elegant, and very attractive and draw you in. At the same time, when you smell and taste them throughout the mouth, I want that to be a lingering, elevating flavor, nothing aggressive, nothing pointy, nothing sticky. And I want that nice balance and flow all the way to a very nice lingering finish. It's just my style. I love it. And when you're dealing with great grapes, and some of the best grapes in Napa Valley, that's actually pretty easy to do. It's as long as the winemaker doesn't mess it up. So I explained the AVAs here. I think they come in together beautifully. They complement each other beautifully. You know, when you go to and take a whiff and smell of my wine, it just bursts out of the glass. You get that black cherry, you get lots of good fruit, currant. You know, I actually get a little bit of the characters of the Cab Franc, sort of a violet, teeny hints of raspberry that come from maybe the Merlot. It's just smooth, rich, and complex. And it's my style. The oak is in check. You know, you can feel it, you can smell it, but it by no means, it's just a nuance to the wine overall. My wine ages in French oak, about 80% new per vintage. Let's give it a taste. This 2016 vintage, what I have here right now, is just spot on. It's had time in the bottle to come together. It's seamless. It just flows seamlessly through your mouth, gives you lots of flavor. You can taste everything that you smell, the cherry, the currant. Lingers, I can still taste it. You know, it's just this nice flight. And it's fading off into a real beautiful, creamy, rich, velvety finish. Very complex. And I can still taste it. And that's my style. That's what I love about my wines. And with time, they gracefully age. And when I say time, I can go back and drink wines that I made 15 years ago that are tasting fantastic. So a little bit more information about the brand itself. I'm a small producer. Overall, I think I make about 1,200, 1,300 cases annually. So it's small batch. I focus on Cabernet Sauvignon. What's great about the main label, the Napa Cab, is 750s, comes in 6-packs. I do make 375s. I make Magnums. 1.5 liters, and I go all the way up to 6 liters for anybody that may be interested in different formats. I do make a reserve wine on vintages that warrant a great reserve. Those are very small batch wines, and I can talk more about those on another time. So the brand Trujillo, started it in 2011, comes to you with 40 years of experience, and I am just back into winemaking. I love in what I do. I love the relationships that I've built around the country, the relationships with my growers, my relationship with my distributors and my sales team around the country. So I'm anxious to get out there and get this brand noticed and get it recognized, and I'm very proud of it. So I want to thank you for your time, and any questions, feel free to email info@Trujillo Wines and give us a call at the winery, and we'd be happy to help. And we welcome you for a visit. So thank you for your time. Take care.